Okay, so Lamborghini have finally released the Revuelto SV. Monterey Car Week is in full swing, and we've been talking about the Revuelto SV coming out this week, for days at this point, but I've told you about it months ago in other videos that I've made. And now Lamborghini has finally unveiled the Revuelto SV for us all to see. If you haven't caught my prediction video on it from a few days ago I put out leading up, I basically nailed everything, so I'm pretty proud of myself on this one, I'm not gonna lie. We've got the 1,065 horsepower we were expecting. It's going to be 1963 units produced, just like we were expecting. The car does have a wing on the back, which looks a lot like the ones we were showing in our spy shots that we've seen. There really wasn't too much surprise about this car when it launched, which is kind of a funny feeling because we got so much of it right ahead of time. But in a way, it's also good because they have made some good changes that we're going to talk about the final features and specs and everything you need to know about the car. And then we're also going to talk about how this plays into the whole theory we've been discussing in my other videos, especially my Revuelto Roadster video, if you haven't seen that yet, that just came out, about the future of the Revuelto model range and lineup, and if it's even going to exist in a year from now. So go check out that video if you haven't seen it, but I'm going to make a summary of it at the end of this one as well. But that one's heavy in detail, and you'll like that video because it talks specifically about the Revuelto Roadster and where that's at and why we haven't seen one yet. With that being said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet for me, please do so. Please turn notifications on so you see my videos right when they come out, and like the video for me. It really helps me get the videos in front of more people. I want to do this for you guys as long as I can and as often as I can, so please help me grow the channel and make this thing big. So thanks, and let's jump back into the Revuelto SV. So Revuelto SV is finally here, the successor to the Aventador SV and also in a way the SVJ, but more so the SV, because the SVJ was at the end of the Aventador's life cycle and everything and was like as crazy as they could go with it, whereas the SV was like a mid-cycle as crazy as they could go halfway through without going, SVJ levels. And that's kind of my initial impression of how this Revuelto SV is shaken out. So we did get more power. We got 50 more horsepower, all from the battery, which is interesting. They didn't get any more power out of the engine. So I believe they kept it 10 horsepower lower than the phenomenal hypercar Lamborghini announced last year at Car Week. Probably not to upset the owners of these like $3 million, one of a very small number hypercar that they made. But I mean, 10 horsepower at this point and at this weight of car is irrelevant. Another thing they did improve on that we didn't really spend too much time focusing on, but we kind of expected, was the brakes. The brakes seem way better than before, which is good because the Revueltos are heavy cars, of course, and weight we'll touch on as well. I haven't seen anything about this car being lighter than a standard Revuelto. It could be heavier for all we know because they added more aero and everything, and the battery's bigger, I believe. I believe it's literally a larger battery pack, I think from the Phenomenal as well. That's probably where the extra power came from. The car's probably heavier. They did add these crazy carbon bucket seats that look really, really cool, and they're really thin, but they look really uncomfortable to me. I've sat in the standard Lamborghini carbon bucket seat that you can like option into and say something like a Revuelto or a Temerario. That seat's actually really comfortable while still being, pretty light and sporty. This new one looks too extreme. I haven't sat in it yet. Obviously, the car just came out today, but I like to think I'm a good judge of seats because I've been lucky enough to sit in pretty much all of them from every manufacturer, and I have a pretty good baseline of what each one is like at this point. Those seats look uncomfortable. That's just my take from now. I haven't seen it yet in person, obviously, but maybe that's where they're saving some weight, is that seat, because it's so extreme. But besides the brakes, the power, and the seats, they did add the wing at the back. The wing's a little cooler than it looked all camoed up. It's kind of like a two-stage wing where you can, see through the middle of it. That's pretty cool looking for aero reasons. And they still do have like the wing that's on the regular Revuelto down the bottom. They quote 2.6 seconds for the new 0 to 60 time, but the regular Revuelto does it in 2.2. So I'm sure this SV will do it, a lot closer to either 2 or 2.1 or 1.9, somewhere in that range. And as we predicted, they didn't try to have as much power as a Corvette ZR1X. They couldn't add that much. I mean, they would have had to add like another 200 horsepower to a car that they're already getting over 200 horsepower out of the battery from. So that wasn't realistic, and that did end up being true. But it does come in slightly above the Ferrari SF90XX, which I also predicted in that video if you haven't seen it, because I knew that you knew they were going to try to have to one-up Ferrari just a little bit at least. Not that this car necessarily will be faster than an SF90XX as a result, but I think on paper they just wanted to say they had more power. But I think the big focus with this car is that it's just going to be more engaging to drive than pretty much anything else in this segment of the market. I mean, it has the V12 still. It's even faster now. I'm sure they've made it shift a little more aggressively and sound better in ways they can without breaking emission rules that they have to deal with, I'm sure. But the car looks really good. I don't think they went too far with it. Like, it's not like, I always personally felt the SVJ was a little too extreme with the looks. I always liked the Aventador SV better. And I feel like this Revuelto SV, it did the right thing. It added a wing at the back. It added more aero on the front. But it's not like ridiculous looking. It doesn't look crazy different from a Revuelto, which is a very clean looking car. And I don't know why the Revueltos get so much negativity around them. I think it's probably because they had a rough launch, whereas the first year of cars were basically all broken and they had to go back to the dealer for a long time. But now that they've got past that, it's a good looking car. It still has a naturally aspirated V12. It's fast because it's got the hybrid system. It's got a dual clutch transmission. there's not a lot not to like about the Revuelto, other than it being a hybrid, you know, as a principle from its core is a compromise situation essentially. But I think this SV is going to make the Revuelto even more fun to drive. There will be kind of a lot of them. I mean, 1,963 as a nod to Lamborghini's, you know, first year in business. Kind of a lot of cars, but I think that's a good thing because that means it'll be more accessible to people. Maybe the prices won't go as crazy as, say, an SVJ currently is. Not that I think they're really transacting at $1.5 million. They're probably transacting a lot closer to $1 million, but still a lot of money, but they'll be slightly more accessible. I've got some great viewers recently who've been commenting on it saying they've either ordered Revueltos or are considering ordering a SV, so congrats to you guys. Let me know if you decide to order them or not. Looks-wise, I think the car looks good. I'm not in love with the specs Lamborghini chose to launch the car in, I will say. Especially the silver one with like the black part over the roof, I think looks a little funky. The red car they showed in California at Car Week is a little better because it's like a dark metallic red. It looks really good, but the two-tone hood on that, I don't love it either. I think they should have either gone with like a brighter car with not a two-tone look, or a darker car to kind of make the two-tone look less dramatic, because I'm just not loving it. It looks a little too like, the Revuelto's got like a very sleek line to it in a way, even though it is pretty pointy, and I feel like the two-tone look is not helping it, if that makes sense. I could see having the roof section and like the tonneau cover over the engine all blacked out, but the hood being in the black, and then they've got the red stripes on it too. Like, there's a lot going on, and I think it's making an already pretty complex car in terms of aerodynamics maybe look a little too video game-ish, if that's the right word. I don't know. Let me know if you agree with that or not, if you think a more standard spec would have actually benefited the car in some ways. Price tag's still pretty unclear. I'm sure it's over 700 grand because normal Revueltos, most of them were spec'd in the high fives to mid sixes, somewhere in there. I'm sure this car's over 700. I would assume a spec'd up one's closer to 9, just to be honest. It's really cool. I like it. I mean, there's nothing to dislike about it. We knew so much about it before it came out that it's a little like bittersweet almost, because it's not like a huge shock about anything that came out on the car. I mean, the only thing that surprised me at all was how much improvement they got out of the brakes. It was pretty big percentage gains out of the brakes. One stat I thought was cool was that they said 80% more downforce than a standard Revuelto. Pretty impressive. Only 10% more than an SVJ, which is interesting because the SVJ is thought of as like a very not nimble car because it's so heavy and it had that single clutch gearbox, but only 10%, that gives a little respect to the SVJ, I guess, but 10% is a big improvement on cars of this performance capability. So overall, I'm very happy with the Revuelto SV itself. I did promise you a short summary of the Revuelto situation, so I'll give you one here, but if you want like a full deep dive, go watch my Revuelto Roadster video. I'll make it the suggested video at the end of this one for you so you can see it. Basically what I've heard is the Phenomenal Roadster that Lamborghini promised last year could not be homologated to US crash standards, which was, you know, that car was going to be the basis for the Revuelto Roadster. The US is Lamborghini's biggest convertible V12 market for, you know, for the Aventadors of the last 15 years. And if they can't sell a Revuelto Roadster here, they're literally better off starting over from the ground up, building a car they can homologate as a convertible V12 Roadster. And apparently that's the plan. I think this SV may be the last Revuelto, at least the last Revuelto in large numbers. I'm not saying there won't be some type of, you know, equivalent to the Aventador Ultimate like we saw towards the end of the Aventador's life cycle with the Revuelto, maybe 300, 400, 500 cars or something like that. But the rumor is we're going to be seeing like a whole new ground up V12 Lamborghini designed. I'm not shocked. I mean, the Revuelto did have a rough rollout. It was their first like production hybrid car. So maybe they've learned a lot from it and they're just going to start over with something they can homologate and they know how to manage the weight of a little more for crash testing purposes. So apparently the plan is the Revuelto's going bye-bye a lot sooner than maybe Lamborghini's publicly making known. So if that comes true, please subscribe for me if you're not already and like the video for me. I really hope you guys have been enjoying these Monterey Car Week, you know, update videos and also just videos about cars we know are coming in the future. I do these all year long, not just during Car Week, but I'm trying to get everything out as it comes out for you guys right now. So please check out this video for me. Check out that Revuelto Roadster one if you haven't seen it already. And I'm also releasing a video on the McLaren manual car they came out with as well. That might come out before this one, but if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. And please stay tuned for all the videos I'm releasing the rest of the weekend. I will see you in the next video.